ED too or not?
No.
Calling the meeting to order, Economic Development Corp. Audit and Finance Committee, Tuesday, December 9th, a tad bit past 4. Thank you, we have a quorum, everyone's here. I'll move right into the agenda, and that is, the first thing is the approval of the November 4th meeting minutes, which have been previously provided.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Wait a minute, who moved on that?
I have it, Judy and Laura.
And Laura, and 100% approved. The next is the approval of the November 25th financials. Those two have been provided in the package. I think it would be good for you to go over the over November.
Currently the fund balance is at 997,000. Of that, 615, a little over 615 is cash. We have that in various checking accounts and 2 money market accounts. Accounts receivable is 80,000, and you have a chart in the back of the receivables that includes quite a few memberships for next year already, as well as the county 70,000, which we received 35,000 just in the last week. And all of those memberships have already come in. Outstanding still as of today is the one half of the county, one half of the LBC, as well as the sponsorship and some of the tickets for the annual luncheon. Accounts payable is 36,000. Still sitting on that is the Bean Landscape Architects. That's for Tech Meadows, and there was a meeting today on that. So maybe Jim can give you progress.
Anyway, this is the study that we've had them do on alternate uses for Tech Meadows, which is consistent with one of the responsibilities we have for the city, although this goes well beyond the scope of anything we've ever done for the city around it. We used some of the ARPA funds for this, and then some of them will be EDC funds that are allocated to this kind of work. And I think we came to closure on it today. There's more than a 50-page report that's been developed. We gave the last round of comments to them this afternoon. So we'll close those and we will pay that bill this week.
And there's a draft, but not available yet for us to see.
Yes, so as soon as they won't release it to me until I pay them.
Gotcha.
So we do all of this online, like they show me the version of it, but I can't actually hold it in my hand unless I screenshot it at the time. But we should have that when we pay the bill.
Okay,
great. For the statement of activities, we have an annual income as of the end of November of 680,000. That's 37,000 below budgeted. Some of that is membership, and a big chunk of that is the Queensbury contract reduction. Some of this is offset by the gains in investments. Expenses almost match 688,000. The board development expenses were over by 10,000. We in the recast budget we fixed that. Personnel expenses are under by 49, and programming expenses are over by 17. A lot of that is related to the consulting fee for Tech Meadows, and overhead is generally tracking. That is what I have for November financials.
Any questions?
When we went through the contract change we did with Queensbury and knowing we were going to underrun our stretch membership goal, I tried every lever we could to try to make sure that we managed our expenses. Like we didn't backfill our communications position as an example. I think we'll talk about this in the recast budget. We need to have we still need to be on the same page in terms of how we forecast things like that are aspirational. Like I think we have another contract, to sort out between the city as well that could affect us in the same way that Queensbury did, maybe in a different way. But I think the team did a really nice job of trying to figure out how to be austere for the back end of the year when we
Thank you for it.
we get the money from Queensbury.
Any questions? If not, I will call for a motion to approve the November 25 financials.
So moved.
Second.
Second, is there any discussion? If none, please indicate in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the motion carries. Next is review the proposed recast budget.
I want to, before she starts talking about this, I want to apologize for the fact that we were having meetings until
Today.
about 2 hours ago that affected this.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of that doesn't have anything to do with her. We're working very hard to bring in other sources of revenue. And I'm particularly working on grants that are aligned with work we're already doing. We met with the Adirondack Community Foundation yesterday. We had a meeting with the state with regards to a potential grant, significant infrastructure grant today. We have to follow up with them tomorrow. And we had a meeting on the broadband grant earlier in the week. All of these affected her budget from the time that she sent it to you, but they're all affecting it in a good way. So I just want to make sure you don't think that the disruption in getting a different version is anyone's fault, but those events.
Okay. Thank you for that update.
Thanks, Jim.
I will leave it to you to go through it.
So you have this nice color copy version. So the the line in blue in the middle is what we approved back in September. We have to do that in time for the deadline for Paris, and so it comes before a lot of contracts are have been completely negotiated, and also before the municipal budgets are passed. So there's always these changes that take place, and then as Jim said, a lot of negotiations and meetings have been going on in the last week that have changed things significantly. So what we have is the proposed recast in black. Nothing changes on the contracts side.
But it is important to understand the tenets on that.
Yeah.
So Warren County has not yet voted to approve that budget. This is the flat figure that is in the budget that they will vote for.
420?
Yes.
I the $1 on
Okay, so that's a parliamentary procedure that occurred when Jack Diamond attempted to pass a resolution when a number of the committee members were out of the room to defund the EDC totally. And once that resolution had been introduced, they had to change the original resolution in a material way to be able to re-vote on it. So
This just happened.
no, it
No.
happened last year.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just been maintained now as a part of the contract.
Is Jack still on the board?
Yes.
So why did we change our budget so there's not a variance?
We could do that.
Okay.
I mean, they might rationalize it.
Yeah, I just round the numbers.
They may
Sometimes I round
rationalize
them.
it this year, they didn't last year.
I just think it's like,
It jumps.
It is a goofy thing.
It is.
Now, the town of Queensbury, we are operating under a signed budget. The LDC will follow the county's budget. So we'll sign that contract once that budget is approved. And the city of Glens Falls, we are in dialogue on that. So we mapped that to be the same as last year until we know otherwise.
So no, Queensbury contract, originally for years, it's been 114,000. Last year it was 94.5 and now it's 62.5. So EDC events, we changed. Now I have all the numbers in from the ticket sales. It seems to run about the same over the last 3 years. We sell about just under $5,000 in tickets. And there's a couple of gift in kinds in there as well. But so we're going to aggressively work to get more sponsorships, at least 2 good solid sponsorships for 10,000. The grants is what has moved a lot in the last couple of days. So now we have 3 grants. One is the 20,000 that will come from the Connect All grant.
Which has not yet been signed by the state, but we have
I have a hard time.
submitted all of the things we can submit.
Which agency?
It's part of ESD, the Connect All offices. The old broadband office is now part of ESD.
Does that give like Mike Yavoli or anybody control over it, or is it totally different?
No, it's all a function of allocations that come from the second floor, but we are a small grant in a big pile, and I don't see any risk in this.
And keep in mind, EDC is a public authority and not a state agency, so it's a little bit different. It's dependent upon approval by the board and not by going through really the governor's office or the legislature.
Let's see after. Okay. There's in that grants there, so 20,000 for ESD Connect All, 15,000 is to transfer over from the LDC, which is to fund the work that Bob Bullock has been doing on entrepreneurial support. And the other 15,000 is an agreement we just made with the Adirondack Community Foundation. We'll be working in collaboration with them and the Rockefeller Family Foundation on a child care initiative in North Creek. And so
So this is an interesting thing. I have put out the word around the areas that we are already working to see whether or not there were grants available to us. The Rockefeller Foundation, Family Foundation came to us directly and said, we would like you to be involved in an effort that we would like to fund through the Adirondack Community Fund, but only if you're involved.
Wonderful.
And so we are there to gather the business voice, number one, the other economic development organizations in the region, number two, and to house a contracted project manager for it here rather than in the park so that they can have access to a better pool of people. And I was happy to do all three of those. We negotiated all of the logistics of that yesterday. The original agreement, and I still need to confirm that their finance people will agree with this, but I'd like that contract person to be paid directly from the Adirondack Community Foundation and not have it flow through our financials. So this is purely our management side of this, what we would bill the grant for. But it's possible that we will have this contractor who flows through our system if they can't do it the way that they suggested yesterday.
Would there be more revenue attached to that
It would
expense?
be a complete offset. It would probably be $60,000 in and $60,000 out.
we increased our member contribution. Look, our feedback is positive. We have people coming in here all the time, just dropping in and
Well, she and I had a spirited debate about this today. She does not. She's being very supportive right now, but she feels like for 3 years in a row, we have underrun our membership because I set stretch targets because I'm trying to drag everybody with me to diversify our funding. And I still feel like we need to do that. I feel like if all we do is based on our actuals from the previous year, we have no incentive to drive growth. But I do understand that we carry variances when we do this, like we do this year. If we don't execute on it, if we aren't able to bring significant growth, then we will have a shortfall. But I believe we have to diversify our funding. So I directed her to put this in. She wanted to put in what the 3-year running average was, which is just over $100,000.
Why don't we do just a smaller amount and not go to 20,000 and do, say, 10? So it's not as aggressive.
Your input is as important as mine in all of this. I just wanted you to know the rationales.
How much of your aggressive goals in the last 3 years have we reached? Any of it?
Yeah, originally, when we started all this, we were at below $75,000. So we're past our pre-COVID membership dollars, but we've leveled out at 100. And I believe that if we were to open ourselves south of here to, say, the builder we were just talking about as an example, somebody who has an interest in the growth of this area and who is now attending our functions, if we open ourselves to those kind of people as potential members and sell into them, that we can do this. Because I think there are many organizations in Albany that won't blink at spending $1,000 to be a part of us if we just get in front of them.
Mhm.
But we have to do that. And that's
Who's
the
we
challenge.
to get in front of them?
Well, I think it's both the board and the staff. I think the board has relationships that we should lever, and I think we've got the work to do to close.
As my personal comment is, you gotta push me. Like, sit me down, I'll go through the list. I mean, I walk out of here and I don't end up doing it. So I could do more for you. I know that.
Well, I'll give you an example. Andrea Crisafalli, somebody probably knows her. I don't. I can cold call her, but I think it would be more
No.
effective if we did that together.
Yep.
And I believe that when they see the value of what we're doing, that they will step in. But we just got to get that
Is
part.
Benaccio a member?
They have been historically. I don't know if they were last year. Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
very close friends with Andrea Crisafalli.
Okay.
They
Well,
own property together up in Essex.
I know Andrea. I could,
I've asked to meet her in the coming year, and she said that she would meet with me, but without being committal about exactly when. And I think it's because she just doesn't know me.
Her people come to my house.
I'm just using her as an example, but I think there are many others like that. I think just on the housing and infrastructure front, because of the work that's going on here, I think that we could get there by identifying the 20 or 30 firms that are the right targets.
Well, they've taken over a lot of business in the area. I would think that they would.
Andrea's a great example.
Harding Mazzati, they planted a flag here. We should just sit
And
down with them.
billboards and everything.
Yeah.
Have they joined?
No, and I think that's another one we should.
Have we invited them or?
Well, we're trying to figure out who knows them to get into them.
I know their phone number.
Well, who doesn't?
One of my best friends from St. Rose lives next door to them in Gilderland. She told me that they've been coming up here to dinner, to go to either Mint or Park and Elm or something.
It's good.
She told me, I'll ask her.
That's great.
She wanted to introduce me to them, so that hasn't happened yet.
So they're on your list.
I'll put it on my list.
I believe this is doable.
Just gotta come to a high.
I think it's, you gotta hold our feet to the fire.
Well, I think I think we need to hit it because we're projecting a $21,000
Yeah.
loss, and over here, we're projecting another $22,000 loss for this year. So we
Right.
can't keep backsliding, and if we miss that number,
It's a big number.
that deficit only grows.
Could we get Adirondack Thunder to do EDC Warren County night
Possibly.
at a hockey game?
Yeah, we can definitely explore that. I want to get back to your core
Sorry.
question. The key to me is figuring out how to get us into a more balanced funding model. We would have made that number if we had been able to get the stable amount of funding from Queensbury, despite the fact that we underran on our membership. But the volatility of municipal funding, I think, is the biggest risk we have. And I think we have to be aggressive of both grants and membership in order to be able to create more balance here. But this keeps me awake at night. Like I worry about this every single day. I do not want to continue to run deficits, but it's structural for us to change because the majority of our life, 80+% of our revenues have come from municipalities. So it requires a different approach.
I mean, I'd rather see more money coming from outside of the municipalities, but I'd also like to see Glens Falls give more, and maybe Diana will do.
Well, we're going to talk about that later. Right now, we're
I'm
contracting.
not just looking for the expense side, I'm looking for the income.
Yeah, I understand, but we're keeping it flat until we have clear indication that there's support for something different.
I would recommend a smaller membership jump from 20,000 maybe to 10, just so that it's not too crazy, but I mean, if we've been at 100 for a couple of years,
Others?
I mean, I see growth in the area,
Well, you
but
cut revenue, you're going to raise the deficit, or you're gonna have to cut expenses. So how are we gonna balance that, or do we take the hit and make the loss another 31,000,
right,
another 10,000, so it's 31,000.
more grants.
Well, I've got more grants to chase. And
Which is amazing. Like, we didn't really have any grants in the last few years besides the ARPA grant, which is,
there's a significant grant for infrastructure, which we're attending the first organizational meeting for with ESD tomorrow, a power up grant that would bring in diversified power to the entire riverfront of Glens Falls. And we have support for that at a state level, but we would have to be the administrator, and I need to understand what's involved in that before I commit us to it. But there is clear support for it, both at the state and amongst the users for it. And it would probably be $4 to $5 million, and our management on that would probably be $40,000 to $50,000. But I need to make sure it's doable without us having to add resources, or it doesn't do us any
And
good.
it's gonna be time consuming.
Well, that's the question, is exploring that. And I'm meeting with not only the the Power Up office, or I guess it's NYSERDA, but I'm also meeting with people who've already done these to understand what's involved in administering the work. Grid does most of the work, and we already have a relationship with Grid, and we already meet with them regularly. So I'm trying to figure out how much more is going to be required than simply adding that to the agenda of things that we're doing with them.
And is it gonna do something to help our local businesses that would maybe help to increase membership?
I hope so.
I mean, it's time away from trying to work on membership or help serving our members if you're doing that, unless it's going to help them.
This is designed to create robustness and power. Right now, we have single flows into most of our major fees, and for manufacturers, that's very problematic. And so I think it both sustains the ones that are here and gives value if we're able to advocate for this on their behalf. But I think for anyone that would look to come into the area, I think they would assume it, and it would be a deal breaker to not have it.
Is there a floor in terms of fund balance or cash on hand that we're unwilling to go below in terms of risk?
Usually they look at a year or two of funding, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so
going
that's the
concern.
budgeting. Yeah, going concern.
The way that we have, if you look under board directed funds on the balance sheet, we take the property holding costs and 3 months worth of expenses for running the organization, and we put that in a board directed line item that we would never fall below. But that's a long way from 1 to 2 years worth of carrying costs. Now, just to give you some history here, Ed tried to build that and came under great scrutiny from the community, including the county, who said, why are we continuing to fund you when you have such a healthy fund balance? So there is a challenge here in a publicly funded organization that when you build a treasure chest, that they then use that as a basis for not funding you.
I think if you define the cash needs over a certain time frame, should you run into huge problems that backs it up.
We modeled our holding after what the county does,
Yeah.
so as to get rid of that argument. So the county looks to hold 3 months worth of ongoing expenses. And so that's what we're currently allocating.
Moving along to the expense side of things, I topped off the events expenses. That 16,000 is really what we're spending on the site itself. That's AV, catering, the staging, all that stuff. Every other expense gets allocated to marketing. But that's about what it's been for the last 2 years, 2 years prior. I topped off legal and other. I did move around a couple of things at the end of year to be more consistent with, we have 3 accounts that are kind of, I don't know, like a miscellaneous account, the capacity planning and improvement account under program expenses, and hosting, meeting, and marketing. They're a little blurry on what exactly goes in those. And so Jim and I had a good meeting today to really define those. So the board development and other, that $5,000, that is like the unexpected gifts for people, condolence gifts, sponsorships
We don't
of
give
golf
out thousands
events,
of dollars worth of flowers. I mean, this is almost always
training,
Training.
HR.
and things we have to do that are either unfunded mandates from the state about
Yeah.
training we have to do, or sometimes it's things we have to add to our website or things like that. That's the line item where the majority of this expense is coming.
Insurance, personnel. Okay, so insurance under personnel, that's health insurance. So we made some big changes this year. We moved to a smaller broker and changed our carrier for insurance. Both Jim and I are on insurance, full insurance, and we both changed carriers. We went from CDPHP to MVP. And made some changes. I guess we'll discuss them later, but we had projected a 20% increase in our costs, and we ended up with a 2% decrease in our costs from last year.
This is spectacular work that she did. And I don't think we could have done it with our prior broker, but we were able to do it with one that was willing to fight for our business, to really spend the time, because
Who's the broker?
Hometown Solutions, Debbie Bell and
they
Lori
met with us
Birch.
a number of times, and we only represent a tiny account to them. But they helped us find ways that we could dramatically reduce this. There's an important change in all of this. We used to be that Delta Dental was carried as a component of CDPHP, and with MVP, they don't carry dental. So we've, rather than try to go get our own contract for Delta Dental, I spent some time talking with other organizations about what they're doing, as well as dentists. And
Hometown Solutions also.
yeah, there's a self-insurance movement occurring in the dental world. And so once I came to understand that lots of organizations are doing this, we're proposing that we take the money that we would have spent to buy the insurance and we simply take that dollar amount monthly and put that in an HSA or FSA account for the employee. And then they self-insure for dental work. And it's part of this reduction because we're spending less money this way.
It's also almost impossible to find a dentist who takes Delta dental
They don't anymore.
insurance.
Even the hospital had the best program, and my husband just doesn't work anymore at our dentist.
So essentially what we're trying to do is right-size the amount we would have spent on the behalf of that insurance if we'd had it. And this figure looks to be on the lower range of what most employers are providing when they do this.
Is your health plan a high deductible plan?
No.
Then you can't have an HSA.
No, it has to
We
be
have
FSA.
he keeps saying HSA, but he means FSA.
Well, he said HSA or FSA.
We have an FSA account.
Yeah.
Okay, in the discussion that we're gonna have for the resolution, we're gonna change the language in our handbook to say FSA or HSA so that it could apply either way if they did have a high deductible plan in the future.
Yeah.
So the language that will be in our policy will be HSA and FSA.
Mm.
What will actually materially happen in this year is an FSA. I
Based
guess,
on the underlying
yeah,
policy.
contribution.
Moving down to consultant, what we have under consultant, that 15,000 is Bob Bullock's fees for the entrepreneurial support. So any other changes that were made under program expenses, those are aligned with what our year end looked like in 25. It was more realistic. The capacity planning and product improvement, that is all the events that we attend, as well as $10,000 for our membership to CEG, which is the biggest chunk of it.
By the way, I want to make sure you understand why we spent that amount of money. That puts us on the leadership board of CEG, and it's
Center for Economic Growth.
yeah, and it essentially allows us not just direct contact with all of the leaders, which I think we would have otherwise, but it puts us on a plane where we're able to advocate for the policies on behalf of this entire region in the capital district. Otherwise, without us there will be nothing north of Saratoga that is in that voice. And so I feel like it's really important for our region that we show up in those meetings and talk about what needs to happen here too. And we've had a really good relationship with CEG. They've been great advocates for us on many things that we've needed. So I believe we get that money back, but it is the singularly largest thing we belong to.
In that, that's dues and, hang on, sorry. Where's the 7,000? Oh, that's under capacity. Okay, so under capacity, that one includes this, okay. Capacity for 17,000, that includes the 7,000 for our annual sponsorship of the Power Breakfast. This will be the third year that we do that. And then the 5,000, which is an expense that will be connected to the Connect All grant that is not reimbursable.
When you get the grant, you owe 1% to ESD. That's their tax for getting it to you. And we've agreed to split that 4 ways with the county, the city of Glens Falls, the town of Lake George, and us. So it's a $2 million grant to $20,000 fee that will be paid at the award, and we will pay $5,000 of that. And then we will get back over the next 2 years, probably 40, maybe more than $40,000 in administration.
And I misspoke before. So the 10,000 from CEG is in the dues and subscriptions as part of that 18,360. The only other material change is we added budget to hardware and system maintenance based on a conversation we had with Adirondack Tech. I think it was Monday.
They think we need to replace our firewall infrastructure in our closet, and there's always at least 1 or 2 laptops or PCs that need to be replaced.
We never budget for it, so we budgeted finance here. We budgeted.
How often do the PCs and so forth get cycled out?
Probably closer to 5 years.
Hmm.
They want to do it on a 3-year cycle, but
Are they leased machines or are they owned?
they're all. we don't have high computing requirements typically, because most of the models we work with, it's all operating in the cloud, and we don't have to do that computation on the machine. So we've been able to get away with longer hold times on some of these. It really comes down to when you can't really load the operating system anymore.
3 and 5 years seems like quick. Machines ought to last a little longer.
No, they don't.
Oh, no.
We're turning them, we're lucky if we get 3 years.
Yeah, we're at 3. We don't lack.
Wow. Okay.
The problem is the software gets too large, and when you're trying to operate multi-environments, we're up, I think we have to now buy 24 RAM.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we can't operate the software all at once, and I imagine your property management system is sucking up huge RAM.
Yeah.
Look, AI may change this.
Mhm.
There's enormous amounts of data now that are being pushed around. We haven't yet seen this, and so I'm still holding to that, but I think we're at the bottom end, not the top end. of replacement.
Agreed.
No, I think you're doing a good job if you're keeping them for 5 years.
Yeah,
so
so, leave it at 20,000 more on member contribution or drop it to 10?
Judy had suggested 10.
If you want to,
Are we going for realism, or my thought is, you're saying we could, over 3 years, we came up $25,000, so that's $8,000 a year. So a $10,000 budget would be stretching that by 25%.
It wasn't like that though.
I ju-
It took 1 year to fix after COVID, and then it's leveled out at 100 for the last 2.
So no stretch has happened for 2 years.
so it's not realistic, but it's also, I mean, do we want to have a goal that's a little bit more aggressive? I don't know.
Well, there's a difference between being aggressive to the point where you can achieve it, and there's an aggressive to the point of being motivational.
I'm going to offer one other opinion, and I know that I'm not objective in this. But when I go fight for money at the county and with Queensberry and with the city, or even with members, I tell them that we're doing everything we can to diversify our funding. And I use the fact that we are trying to gain more membership as part of that conversation. I think when we fund it flat, we send a different signal.
Yeah, I don't think you should put it flat, but
10,000?
I think 10,000 is a more realistic if we've been flat for 2 years. But
Because we're not raising the rates, right?
No, although
I wish we had.
I think there's a conversation to be had there, but it will have to affect
It's
us
too late,
next
though.
year. Yeah.
I think you'll find resistance based on what I'm encountering and with my clients right now this year, is they're all stretched pretty thin, and they're looking at where they can cut.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably smart this year, having held the line, and see where the economy is going next year, because they're all pushed. Everybody's got problems with their AR is growing and their AP is growing, and they can't turn it, and they can't turn inventory, and
I'm getting a lot of complaints about insurance expenses as well, and
I think at the high end, there is some room, but we'll have to have a conversation about that. I'm not so sure we would do it across the entire strip, but we also have to talk to them about whether we're delivering a value that's perceived that way. There was an open-ended question about that a couple of years ago, and we're in a good place now. We don't get those pushbacks from most of our large employer members. But I think we're also the cheapest organization for most of them to belong to, like us. So I think we can have that conversation over the course of the year, and I think we could potentially try to bring more money in sponsorship from some of those channels as well.
Sorry, did I miss something?
No.
I'm running out of places to cut the budget, though, just so you know.
that's what I'm trying to see is what goes.
What goes next? It's-
Well,
We
so
either
we-
increase the loss, or we find,
We have
whatever.
budgeted 30,000 for a marketing person.
But the salary hasn't changed. Oh, that was the original.
That was the original, yeah.
but that marketing person you've been outsourcing, or you just stopped entirely at this point?
Well, one could argue that we stopped. I think we try. I don't really have an ongoing contract with anybody.
What would you say is, as you've heard, businesses are having some troubles right now in general. What would you say is the next year and the next year at that point? Is it a continuous draw on the money?
No, we have to diversify the base. In the last month, I've been able to develop almost $50,000 worth of grants
Grants,
that weren't there before.
Wow.
I think if we apply that same energy on membership and grants, I could see us being able to diversify the funding to where at least a third, if not 50% of our funding came that way. But it is a significant amount of time that I'm investing in that.
And I can't do all that work either.
You're gonna be spending a lot of time on grant administration and handling the grants. And if the work that you're doing through those grants is beneficial to the members, and we can demonstrate that to them, you're going to both be able to keep members and probably have some growth.
Mhm.
But you've got to demonstrate to them that the time you're spending on grants is of help to them.
And that's the same gateway that we're taking Alice through. So, the
Connect all
broadband
grants.
grant is the perfect example of this. I mean, this is already things that John is doing and has delivered value to not only our business members, but our community. We have competitive broadband coming in this year. So getting paid to do that
Yeah,
is
nice.
actually a plus.
Yes, but you also need that spokesperson who's out there writing your stuff up on Facebook and internet, LinkedIn or whatever, so that those members fully understand what it is you're doing. And so you've got to have that communications person that helps you to get that word out,
Mhm.
because you're going to be so John's so busy doing
Yeah,
broadband
monitoring all the
stuff,
social
he doesn't-
media is time consuming and you've got to have the messaging rights and everything else.
Consistency.
So,
I guess my other question, and I hear what you said, we came out of COVID, got back up to 100,000 and it's been kind of steady. What would be done differently this year to get to 110 or,
we would aggressively market into the capital district.
I mean, those are the
from
people that are
capital
walking in the
district
door,
that are
right?
looking
Like-
to do stuff here?
Without a
We have-
marketing person.
We have, this is something I would do as part of what I do at the CEG table. So I brought 8 or 10 members off of that table into our fold. I think we've got to do it again, and I need your help, and I need some others that are down there with those peers. But I think we have no choice but to do this, and I also want to get to your conversation about the long term. I think as positions move, we should be opportunistic. At some point, Tricia will leave us. She's semi-retired now. When she does, there may be an opportunity for us to reposition that to be both communications and administration in a way that's more cost effective than having two separate ones.
Those two skill sets don't necessarily align.
I think if you find somebody who's a younger person, it's more likely that they do. Because they come at it with the social skills and then we have to teach them that.
She's great.
I don't want this to happen.
I understand.
But I also know that is inevitable.
Is there a date? No.
Anything more in review of the proposed recast? I do not note here that you're asking for approval of anything as opposed to the board.
Maybe not. I don't know.
No,
It's to
we're
be
not
advanced.
asking you to approve it.
I guess advance to the board though.
Yeah. I think it's up to you whether you want to pass a resolution that says that this is what you want them to adopt, or you want to simply say we reviewed it and we recommend it. It can go either way.
I mean, the whole board's gonna want to look at it, so I'd say we went into it in depth. I would say that I'd make a motion to move it
Advance it to the board.
Yeah.
to the board
Yeah, let's-
for future conversation,
Yeah.
that we've gone through it.
and we're making that change to the member contribution,
To 110.
Make to 110.
which means the net
We'll
comes
be
to
negative
minus
30.
31, yeah.
Okay, and who's made this?
I'll make the motion that we send the modified 2026 EDC recast highlights and budget to the full board for their review and approval, and with our support.
With the modification of,
Noted to
With
110.
that one modification.
I got that.
Okay,
Second,
second,
any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
And so we'll have a modified version of this, you'll change that one number, and so. I'm not gonna even take
Can I
this
leave
with
for
me.
a few minutes and go? check?
So,
You'll modify this and
Yeah.
that, okay.
so the next section does not require a resolution, but we are making sure that you see what's gonna come before the full board. In December, we have to, the board has to ratify, 3 specific things. And, I actually think we're probably gonna have to add dental to this line item that says health, vision, and life, because dental's not included in our health anymore. But our bylaws say that we have to ratify these things every single year. That not, just because they were in the budget doesn't ratify them, we have to have a resolution that ratifies them.
So the recast budget, the employee health and vision, and then the SEP contributions.
And the salary increases. So let's cover them one at a time. If you need to go ahead.
No, I'll finish this and then I'll leave for the
So the employee SEP contribution has been the same since I came in.
9%.
And, it is, by the way, while it is generous, it is the single benefit that we have that helps us be competitive, because it is better than some. But it's no different than what we've done for the last few years. The health is different. It's dramatically lower in terms of its cost to the organization.
But not the ratio.
But the vision and the life are, well, it's dramatically lower than we would have if we had stayed with what we had.
Yes.
And the vision and life are consistent with what we have paid in the past. And the salary and wage increases are set at 3%. And then there's, how do we explain it on the hourly?
It's $1.
It's $1 an hour, which we had to have a separate discussion about that before.
So just on the health and vision, the 75-25 is the way it's always been? But
Yeah.
that's-
Yes.
Okay.
Every part of this is exactly the same numbers that we've used before.
Well, so do we need a resolution for the dental to change to,
Yes, and I told her she's gonna have to develop that for the full board, but you don't need to see it. It's just simply to call it out separately, because we've never had it separate before.
So these are just drafts that we're saying.
It's a draft.
Mhm.
And then we did the recast budget, and we did salary increases, okay?
oh, she made a resolution for the recast budget. She's just,
But these are for the board, not us.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
We do
You
have,
don't need us to
you don't
sign
need
these
us to
today.
do, we
This is-
just,
You're just approving the language that,
all you're doing is reviewing these, and the full board has to ratify
so
them.
do we have to approve, do we have to vote to move it to them?
No, but I
No.
wanted you to see them.
Okay,
If there may be other business, but if there's not, I want to remind you. we can get
I don't believe there's any other business unless told otherwise, and I would ask if we need to go, a motion to go into executive session.
We need to go in to discuss an employee matter.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Laura, Jim, going into executive session at 4:46.